So it's Tourette.org is the Tourette Association of America. And I worked with them this year in February to free the cats. Woo, woo, woo. I talked to Congress. I did virtual advocacy day. We went to Capitol Hill virtually and talked to our representatives to continue the funding for research for Tourette's and other related disorders. Definitely check out Tourette.org. They were the organization that really helped my mom with my sister and I when we were growing up. My sister has like no tics anymore. She actually got to grow out of it and just be all set. It was really helpful because in school, someone from the organization would volunteer to do a talk. So the whole school would hear about Tourette's, but it didn't have to come from like the 7 or 8-year-old who was really nervous about it. So that was really nice too. Cats are so cool. I love them. Yes, I do know that. 1%. Same amount as people with autism, actually. But 50% of people go undiagnosed, either because there's just not enough people who can diagnose it, or it's subtle enough. Like if all your tics is just clearing your throat all day long, and like maybe wiggling your nose, so it's technically a vocal and a motor, you might never get diagnosed because nobody ever knows there's anything different. And so I think it's, what is it? So it's 1 million people in the US. So worldwide, it's estimated 80 million people, which is a Germany's worth of people. We're a country's worth of people. But it seems like there's so few of us because a lot of the time, if you can fly under the radar, you probably aren't really like in the community or anything, which is fair. I wasn't until I got bad enough that I was like, is there a community? And there is. And it is a lot of us who are on the special segment of that 10%, because we're the ones being like, my body's really moving without me. Who else can feel like, who has relatable memes for me, kind of a thing. So that's been really great. Yes, I would say so. So you still have Tourette. So my sister still technically has Tourette syndrome her whole life because it is just in your brain. But unless it's re-triggered by something, which isn't super common, but can happen, like you can just grow out of them. So that's why my whole life growing up, I was told, you'll grow out of it, you'll grow out of it, you'll grow out of it. So I was like, okay. So every time I had an episode, I was like, this is the last one. I know it. Okay. And then it came back. And so this year I'm like, yeah, no, okay, I've learned my lesson. I've had like 5 different episodes. So I think we're going to have some more in the future. Even after it calms down, I'm just going to have that mindset. And if it goes away forever, that's great. But I still have Tourette syndrome and I still have all the other issues. It just I wouldn't have tics, or I wouldn't have very common tics. I think one I had that was like when I was in my really mild period that I didn't even fully realize it was a tic until later was like, I would like touch my upper lip to my nose. It had to touch my nose for some reason. And every so often I would do that and nobody probably thought anything of it. And it wasn't until later I was like, there's no reason for me to have to feel that sensation, but that sensation need is from Tourette's. Like you have to fulfill the tic urge, or else it'll just sit there and build up and then explode later. So yes, they can technically disappear, but 66% of people do keep their tics mostly when they're an adult. I'm not positive about HMS, but MGH is doing research right now. But yeah, so I think there's some research, but there's definitely needs to be a lot more, especially on adults. It's not common to find, like I've asked other doctors, like you guys must have special access to more studies, right? Like, can you find a study on adults? Like my doctor was like, nope, I got nothing. I found some random German study that I translated into English and like tried to read through. And it was like, they were like, we only had 20 people in the study. So the study doesn't really work was the final like decision. I was like, this is not helpful. We need more research. So I'm going to go out there and like take me. Some tics aren't that uncomfortable, but some are. You can see a lot of the time when I have a sick cat in my pocket is I have a lot of head movements while I'm doing a vocal tic. So that can be kind of straining because sometimes even when I'm just like this, it's not just that I'm moving my head forward, I'm tensing all of the muscles in the back of my neck. And there are other times where it's like, I'll have a hitting tic. So sometimes my husband will like put his hand in the way, or I'll put a beanie on and I'll just have to like, or if I'm holding my phone, I'll be hitting myself with the phone. So I just got to like throw it and be like, hey, don't touch anything right now. Holding it in is definitely uncomfortable. Whereas, so some tics are comfortable, but holding it in is much more uncomfortable. It takes your energy and your concentration to do that because you're forcing yourself to sit very still. And then you're thinking about not ticking, and talking about tics makes them worse actually. So if we were talking about something else, I might be able to get away with not having some tics But if we're talking about tics, I'm gonna kick myself for $1. It's a sad day for money. Ah, it's a cat. They're so random. I don't get to pick what the topics are. I mean, I think I gave myself the cat one because I had a dog one in the beginning, and I was like, man, I really like cats more though. And then I'm like, was that my fault? But yeah, and it is different for everyone. Some people actually feel the premonitionary urge like in their chest or their shoulders, whereas my premonitionary urges, when I do get them sometimes, is in the actual joint that needs to be doing the tic. So sometimes I have like the T-Rex arms. It's because my elbow is feeling this pressure and my wrists are feeling a pressure. So I just like T-Rex around for a bit. But like that, those are the things I'm trying to like alleviate because it's uncomfortable to keep that weird pressure in there. I think meditation does work. I've had some people say like, if you meditate, it'll like cure it. And I'm like, no, I think it just helps your overall mental health, which, you know, overall helps your health. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Some people might struggle with meditation because if they're like, oh, sit still, and then they can't stop ticking. And it's like, it makes it really hard to concentrate. For me, I am able to calm down. I don't have issues when I'm sleeping, so I'm very lucky. Like when I'm tired and I want to go to sleep, I can just go to sleep. Some people's tics get more aggravated when they're trying to go to sleep. So it takes them a really long time to do that. But I think all the normal things that might help people, you know, managing your stress. So your triggers can be like stress, pain. Like I got injured in soccer and then I was trapped for like 10 minutes and I couldn't stop ticking and everyone's like, she's having a seizure. And it's like, no, I just got hurt. And so the pain is bad enough that it's like triggering me. But I was totally fine after that. I just walked off the field. My sister and all my teammates all blocked me from view for the sideline people so that I didn't feel so embarrassed, which is so sweet. But yeah, and so I think it's a lot of the same things that you can help with your anxiety is probably helping with tics because it affects a lot of your life, like strong emotions. If I'm super upset or if I get super excited, I can tic more in those like high emotions, whether they're positive or negative. If it's hot, if it's cold. So it's just really trying to make sure you're comfortable and that if there's anything bothering you, but that you can fix it, like maybe switch that so that your tics won't be as bad. And I think part of this actually is educating is one of the biggest ones probably because I was a little worried about going back to the office because I was like, how am I supposed to tell people? Is it going to be what? Do I have to tell 50 separate people what's happening? Or am I going to like see people like you guys can tell each other, talk about it. It's not taboo, but at the same time, it just I wasn't sure how to go about it. Then I was like, wait, you can just hear it from me. We'll talk about it. And then that makes this a safer space for me because my suppression is very subconscious. So if I was comfortable, like say I'm with my husband, I tic all the time with him because he's like my safe person. And so if I was somewhere where I was like, don't tic, I would be able to hold in the big ones, but the little ones would have to come out. If I was somewhere where I was scared to tic because I was scared of what people would think or do, I have a much better chance of holding it in. And it can only last for about an hour. And then you get a tic attack after, or you chance getting a tic attack after, which is a period of time where you have a ton of tics, not suppressible. You have nothing, you just got to lay down, find a safe spot so you don't like hurt yourself if you're moving a lot. Weighted blankets help. Like I actually just had in our tic Discord the other day, someone asked like, what do you do for a tic attack? Like my girlfriend's asking how she can help me. So we're all giving our suggestions on like, this is what happens when you're just like, you have so many tics coming out. You just need to get your body in a safe spot because like, you don't have, like, you can be thinking, like I'm the same person I was. It's just my body is being a puppet. It's kind of what it feels like. And it's like, yeah, it's just moving by itself. It's like put on your favorite show, just calm yourself. Cats are so cool. Great question, because that's like a really common, important question because everybody is different. When I'm telling you right now, you cannot take to another ticker and just apply to them. You should ask as well. Because some people don't want you to react at all. Some people are totally okay. Mine are so out there. Yeah, laugh. It's funny. It's okay. Maybe if I punch myself in the face and you laugh, that's a little mean. But if I say a really funny sentence, like, and you giggle a little bit, don't feel bad. I giggle too. If you're in the middle of talking to me and I tic, just keep talking. You don't need to derail the conversation. It's just as if I was clearing my throat or something. Just kind of ignore it. And if I get so trapped in a tic, whether I'm talking or you're talking, I'll let you know, oh, I lost my train of thought. Can you repeat that? Or what was I talking? Because sometimes it just kind of does a wipe. Like I'm fighting against the tic so hard because I'm like, no, I'm in the middle of talking. And then I try so hard, my brain clears and I'm like, what were we even in the middle of talking about? But for me, yes. And if I'm talking, you're talking, and the tics happen, feel free to ignore it. And if sometimes you can slip in a quick joke because you're really clever, that's fun too. I've heard a lot of jokes, so like brush off your clever skills because you really want to press it now. And it's especially different because right now I'm talking and I'm passionate, I'm engaged, so I'm not ticking as much right now. Whereas in person, if I'm like switching between tasks or like walking around the office, I'm probably going to be ticking. And so that's going to be a very different experience for all of us in September. So both. Sometimes there's a brief echo. It's like a split second before I say a tic. I'll hear it in my head and then it comes out, but there's almost no time for me to actually stop it. Other times I'll start saying the tic and it's like the next word is on the tip of my tongue and I can sense it. So if I go to say like sucka, I can sometimes get myself to pause long enough and then just say cat or whatever it is, like whatever word can come out. That's not the word that we all thought of, probably, maybe. I My husband's laughing at me. This is such a great meeting, guys. But like I can try to stop some of those. But if it starts with like fu or something, or if it's the first two words, I basically don't have a chance to fix. I can fix the last couple because I've already realized I'm ticking, and now maybe I can like hold it in and then like, but that takes so much concentration. I don't get to prep and say what the new tic is. And that's what CBIT's going to be. That's going to be figure out what's a phrase I say all the time and what's a new phrase I can just tell myself, if this is coming out, say this instead. So, but you have to do that for every single tic. And as you've heard, mine like to mix and match. So we will see how this goes. But yeah, I think with Tourette's, almost every question is depends on the person, on the situation, on the specific period of your life that you're in. Cats are so cool. Yeah, fuck cats. I love them. Yeah, so I'm focused on talking to you right now. So when I'm focused on something that I'm really passionate about or knowledge about, or if I'm playing like a video game, painting, doing something where I'm really engaged, and that's not to say if I take while someone's talking to me that I'm not paying attention, it helps them to alleviate because I'm really, really into what I'm doing. And then when things calm down, like transitioning between tasks or when I'm done talking and I'm done with whatever I was saying, the tics will come out then. I'm not sure if that's because I'm secretly suppressing it while I'm excited, but I don't think so. This seems like a pretty normal for people. Like if you're having a bad tic day, do something that really helps you to focus. And like music is a big thing for people, either listening to it or playing music. You can actually have your tics pretty much go away. Billie Eilish has Tourette syndrome. If you did not know that artist, she has Tourette's, and I jokingly blame her for my eye tics. So I saw she has a tic where she goes like this sometimes, and I noticed it the other day, and now I have to do it the other side because the OCD is making me even it out. And now I keep doing it. I'm like, great, thanks, Billy. Like, not that you did it on purpose, but like that's how you can catch tics. Like they just transfer really easily. Like that's why I'll say a tic and be like, that was my friend Anna's tic. Because we were on a voice call and she said it. And then the next day I say it. And I'm like, oh, that was hers. And it's like, hey girl, I stole your tic. And she's like, oh, so sorry about that. So yeah, I keep getting off topic. It's just a very fascinating thing to talk about. So sometimes there are keeping your cat away. So I don't necessarily know if there's like a theme. I've noticed there are certain sounds that happen. So my first tic, February 2020, was coughing. But like I was lucky, I wasn't like the normal Tourette people who cough and like actually are coughing as a tic. And then people like, it's Corona, and so everyone's like, ooh, what are you doing? I would go around saying cough, cough. So that's why I'm like, maybe that's why it was easy to transition to cough. And I also have one where I say coffin now. So it's like maybe there's certain things where there's certain phrases or sounds, sometimes alliteration, sometimes it's rhyming. If they're just close enough, I can swap to a new word. And I think that's where that science comes from on trying to manage that therapy of like picking something that's very similar so it still satisfies the tic. Because you don't want to try to just hold it in. That's not a good idea. That's going to be very difficult. And it's just going to give you tic attacks all day long. And I've only had one or two that lasted over 20 minutes, and they are not fun. And some people have them last for hours. Yeah, for when I was younger, I just had eye rolling. I had squeaking like back of my throat. In high school, I was taking Spanish class, so I had a bunch of fake Spanish tics. I was also really into Japanese drama, so I had fake Japanese sounding tics. So it was just gibberish with an accent. So it's sometimes just like based on what I do. Maybe I look at too many cats on the internet. I don't know. That is really interesting, and that's what's kind of getting me to want to kind of like document my life or something, because it's like this is weird and like not a lot of people have that much research on it. And it's like just send this video to doctors and tell them to research me, like, tell them to help advance things. But I think there are sometimes like themes, but not really sure how we get them. The cats are so cool. I love them. They're so cool. She is a year older. So she was diagnosed around 7.5, 8, and then not too long, probably within 6 months, I was diagnosed at the same time. Because at first they couldn't tell if I was just being that little sister who was copying her sister, because like, like, oh, I want to be just like her. And then they're like, no, she doesn't actually mean to be doing these things either. I think it's 3 or 4 times more likely for a male to be diagnosed with or to have Tourette's than a female. And so it was really interesting for people. I think we were in a study with Yale when I was a kid, because my sister and I have Tourette's, my brother does not. And it's usually if one of them is going to get it, it's going to be the boy. And so they're like, that's super weird. And it's usually uncommon for multiple siblings to have Tourette's. Usually just one of the kids ends up having it. And so that's why they were like, ooh, we're going to do genetic studies. And this is finally a family that has 2 of you. Can we talk to you? I thought it was so cool. I didn't know I was weird or I had an uncommon disorder until like basically this year, I feel like, because growing up, I just was like, oh, it's cool. You get to go to the psychiatrist and you get to have McDonald's after, or like a Dunkin' Donuts. And so I didn't think anything was wrong until I'm like, oh, I want to see if I can talk to professionals. And every professional is like, talk to that guy. I can't help you. Like, please, I can try, but you'll teach me more than I teach you. And it's like, okay. Good to know. I think this is a little rarer than I thought. But again, 1% of people have it. Just it's more rare to be on my end of the spectrum where you're saying full phrases. That is a super good theory that I wish I could still hold on to. So I think there's been a lot more people getting diagnosed with Tourette's or having tics for the first time during this period. And it is definitely going to be caused by stress, because stress really does make your tics either worse. It can trigger it to come back. My tics came February. It was the week of like February 10, 2020. So it was right before the pandemic. And the only thing I can think of is like, well, I was sick the week before. And there's something called PANDAS. It's like a really long acronym, but basically it means that your body, while it's trying to fight off strep throat or some other kind of sickness, it actually just re-triggers Tourette's. I don't know how it happens, but that's how you get PANDAS. And so sometimes you can like fix that with antibiotics and stuff, or sometimes it's just like, oh no, it just re-triggered your Tourette's. So every time I have a sore throat, I make sure I don't have strep. I go to the doctor and I'm like, you need to give me the antibiotics ASAP or it'll just make the tics worse. That's kind of how they came back in college. I told them I think I have strep throat, and they were like, yeah, we'll do that for you. And instead of 2 days turn around to give me the results, they waited 2 weeks, and I was like, yeah, thanks a lot. I already know. It was like, that was not helpful, but now I know. I actually would just call them up this time and be like, what are you doing? Can I get a result? Can I get medication? But yeah, so I think for a lot of people, the pandemic anxiety has made it worse. I think that I'm hopeful that once things go really back to normal kind of a thing, that my tics will start to calm down, because we're not in this big stressful situation as much. But it's all really guesswork, because it's like, oh, it could be like, yeah, there's just really no way to tell. Like, are your tics better or worse? It's like, well, did you have coffee? Did you drink a lot of did you have soda, or did you take a new medication? Like, there's just too many variables or is it just because you have Tourette's? Because sometimes that's what it is. It's like nothing caused anything to change. You just have Tourette's. And that's all you get. A lot of us have imposter syndrome because it does sound really, really weird. It's like your body moves and talks by itself. It's like, yeah, I know. Trust me, it is much weirder for me than it is for you. But it's fun to talk about. So I was really excited to do this talk. So thank you so much for all these great questions. So thank you so much for engaging with me on all this. This is super awesome. I really appreciate it. Cats are so cool. I love them. They can go to war for me. No.